So we're done, Harry. The door is slammed shut. Indeed, I'd be happy if you never came back to this country again.
Meghan Markle will be in the UK.
Don't just have egg on their face now, Brittany. They have a whole omelette.
So the Duke of Sussex is in London as we speak. May God help us. Like Britain hasn't got enough problems.
Even by Harry and Meghan standards, this is a disaster. This is an utter disaster.
It puts him in the perfect position that I've said I believe he's trying to be in since day one, which is villainizing his father and being the victim. Again, Harry's always the victim.
Meghan and the children now not coming to London, this is really interesting, but might well fly in and out to visit the late Princess of Wales' grave. I don't know about you, but I think I speak for millions of people when they just say, we're fed up to the back teeth of the psychodrama that you lot bring to this whole royal story.
Prince Harry's latest trip back to Britain was expected to mark an important return. But before the visit could fully get underway, everything seemed to spiral into confusion. Meghan was nowhere beside him when his plane touched down, even though reports kept suggesting that she and the children might still fly over later if plans changed. From the very beginning, the visit sparked more questions than answers, leaving royal watchers trying to figure out what was really happening behind the scenes. Then came the biggest surprise of all. Harry's team reportedly indicated that he had accepted an invitation to stay at Buckingham Palace during the visit. But only a few hours later, palace sources pushed back with a completely different version, saying he would not be staying there after all. One side maintained that the offer had already been accepted.
The way that it's been handled is purely about making sure that everything he does and says, and it's all part of the brand, keeps them current. Will they, won't they be part of Buckingham Palace, be at Buckingham Palace? I feel sorry for the king with this because he's been played, I think. The palace have realised too late that he's being played.
Any hopes of reconciliation between the two men are now dead in the water. It's my understanding that King Charles is furious and insulted, and it demonstrates once again that whenever Harry and Meghan are involved in any public activity, it always ends in bad headlines and misery.
The king this morning said, hell no. Hell no. The door to Buckingham Palace is slammed in your face, Harry.
We gave you plenty of time and you couldn't come to a decision and you kind of decide to accept last minute. And you know what? We have other plans. We have a life. Our life does not revolve around you and your needs and your drama and your toxicity and everything like that. And so, no, you know what? You didn't give us enough time. You're on your own.
While the other claimed Harry had simply waited too long to respond. In an instant, attention shifted away from the Invictus Games of veterans and even the possibility of a reunion with King Charles. Instead, everyone started asking the exact same question. How did Harry arrive in Britain without having his accommodations fully settled? That unexpected twist quickly became the biggest talking point. What was supposed to be a carefully organised royal return suddenly looked far less polished. Instead of focusing on Harry's official mission, the visit became another Sussex mystery before he had even completed his very first public engagement. The confusion surrounding the palace arrangements only added another layer of intrigue, with every new report creating even more speculation across royal circles. Meghan's uncertain travel plans only made the entire situation even more dramatic. For several days, reports seemed to change almost every hour. At first, there was widespread speculation that Meghan, Archie and Lilibet would travel alongside Harry. Then, new claims suggested Harry would arrive alone.
Going to come and stay with, if my son said he's going to come and stay with me, he'll let me know.
Yeah.
It's just how well you're brought up. You don't. If I offer, say, oh yeah, you can stay, and then nobody responds, then the chances are that they're not going to come.
And that is why I am so angry today, because he's acting like an out-of-control Z-list celebrity who a manager or an agent or a PR would be saying, go to rehab. Like, shut up, go to rehab. You're destroying your own career. But this is not just some showbiz career.
The psychodrama, will he, won't he, should he, shan't he? I don't even understand, sorry, I want to put it out there, why he would even contemplate wanting to stay with his kids or not in a house that symbolises an institution that he and his wife called racist, for Christ's sake. The only reason they want that is because of relevance, isn't it? Because the brand's on its backside in America, and being seen in a royal residence with the old Netflix cameras looks good. What else?
With his family possibly joining him later, if circumstances allowed. Other reports hinted that Meghan could appear at Invictus-related events outside London, keeping everyone guessing about her next move. Additional reports even suggested that the children could visit locations connected to Princess Diana and the Spencer family, adding another layer of public curiosity. Yet nothing appeared completely finalized. Harry's official schedule continued moving ahead, but the family's private plans seemed to shift from one report to the next. So when Harry ultimately landed alone, it did not necessarily mean Meghan had completely ruled out making the trip. It simply meant Harry had stepped back onto British soil by himself, just as a major new dispute with the palace was beginning to dominate the headlines around him. Just when it seemed the visit had finally found some positive momentum, a fresh Buckingham Palace report completely changed the conversation. News emerged claiming that Prince Harry had accepted King Charles's long-standing invitation.
Charles should not be having to deal with this constant nonsense, this total hysteria, this embarrassment of a son when he is conducting his service for the British public, for the Commonwealth, while undergoing treatment.
They are middle-aged teenagers, right?
Oh my
God. This is what they are. No, but this is exactly what they are. The way that they react, the pettiness, the shallowness, the superficiality, the nonsensical issues about which they get upset. This is the sort of stuff you expect from 16-year-old girls, this sort of behavior, and we're getting it from middle-aged people.
To stay inside a royal residence during his time in Britain. The update immediately caught everyone's attention because after years of highly publicized tension, it appeared Harry would once again be staying inside one of the most symbolic buildings connected to the monarchy. For many observers, it looked like a major step toward easing years of royal strain. The possibility instantly fueled even bigger expectations. Harry would reportedly be staying close to his father while benefiting from one of the most secure locations in the entire country. If Meghan and the children later decided to join him, the visit could quickly turn into one of the biggest royal family reunions seen in years. For a brief moment, everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place, and the headlines reflected growing optimism about what might happen next. Then everything shifted once again. Palace sources pushed back against the earlier claims, saying Harry had not accepted the offer within the required timeframe. Reports suggested he initially turned down the invitation while weighing different security arrangements and possible alternatives. According to those accounts, Harry later changed his position and attempted to accept the offer.
But here's the question I've got for you. How is it that Meghan and the kids, my husband Archie and Lily, I call him H, how is it that a mansion in Portugal, which is a very wealthy part of Portugal that they live in, or that they got this place in, how is that safer than Buckingham Palace? The Sussexes are lying about their concerns in regard to royal security. It makes no sense. For example, Harry's saying, yeah, when I'm in London, I'll be on my own, but I might take Megs and the kids up to Birmingham. I mean, it's one country. These that he's worried about, and the stalkers, although I would have thought Harry's stalker has had enough now. I think she's checked out. I think even she's like, look, I'm sick of this guy. Please don't mention Harry's name again.
But by then, officials reportedly considered it too late to reorganize everything that would be required for the visit. At that stage, palace officials were said to have explained that staffing schedules, hospitality arrangements, transportation, and detailed security planning could no longer be assembled at the last minute. Harry's team was reportedly disappointed by how events unfolded, while palace sources appeared frustrated by the situation. Meanwhile, the media found itself trying to make sense of two very different versions of the same story, leaving the public wondering which account most accurately reflected what had happened behind closed doors. That naturally raised another question. Was this really just about preparing a room inside Buckingham Palace? After all, the palace is enormous, with hundreds of rooms spread throughout the historic building. It remains protected around the clock, making many people question whether finding suitable accommodation for the king's son should truly have been such a difficult task. To plenty of royal watchers, the explanation sounded difficult to fully accept at first glance. At the same time, palace officials have consistently emphasized that Buckingham Palace is not operated like a hotel, and it is currently undergoing major renovation work rather than functioning as a typical family residence. Harry's arrival would require carefully coordinated staffing, transportation, meals, security operations, controlled entry points, and detailed planning built around someone whose every public movement attracts enormous media attention. That remains the official explanation. Even so, many royal commentators continue to wonder whether the situation reflected something more than logistics alone, believing the palace had simply reached the limit of its patience with the ongoing back and forth. Questions only grew louder after reports suggested Harry had been given plenty of time to make his decision, yet no clear response came right away. According to those accounts, he delayed giving a final answer. Then, unexpectedly, Harry's team reportedly indicated that he would be staying at Buckingham Palace after all. Only a few hours later, palace officials publicly disputed that version of events, creating another unexpected twist that immediately fueled fresh speculation. Whatever may have happened behind closed doors, the public outcome left almost everyone scratching their heads. The royal household appeared to be sending one message, while Harry's team seemed to be presenting another. Instead of projecting a carefully organized visit, the entire situation quickly looked confusing, poorly coordinated, and surrounded by conflicting narratives that neither side seemed able to fully settle. That is exactly where Meghan's role became impossible to overlook. Whether she ultimately traveled to Britain or remained in California, reports suggested her possible arrival influenced many of the discussions from the very beginning. This was no longer simply about Harry choosing a place to stay. Bigger questions reportedly surrounded what arrangements would be needed if Meghan and the children decided to join the visit at a later stage. According to multiple reports, Harry was also weighing whether Meghan and the children could travel safely, whether they should remain outside London for part of the trip, and whether bringing them into a royal residence would attract even greater public attention. Every possible option appeared to come with another layer of planning, making what seemed like a straightforward decision far more complicated than many people first assumed. One detail especially caught the attention of royal watchers. Staying at Buckingham Palace appeared, at least on paper, to solve several of those concerns. Few places in Britain offer a higher level of security than the palace itself. If Meghan and the children stayed there, they would already be inside the existing royal security perimeter. King Charles could potentially have an opportunity to spend time with his grandchildren. Harry could continue attending his official engagements, and Meghan could possibly join him later if plans changed. From the outside looking in, many believed it seemed like the most practical solution available, but reports suggested Harry's biggest concern was never the palace itself. Instead, it was everything happening before arriving and after leaving. Known entrances could attract attention. Vehicles traveling to and from the palace could potentially be observed. Photographers might gather outside public access points, creating exactly the kind of intense coverage Harry has repeatedly spoken about over the years. Those concerns reportedly remained central throughout the planning process. Once stories began circulating that Buckingham Palace was under consideration, reports claimed Harry felt the location had already become too widely known. That immediately raised another uncomfortable question. If maintaining privacy was such an important priority, why were so many details about the visit appearing across the media before Harry had even landed in Britain? Reports discussed possible accommodation, Meghan's potential arrival, locations the children could reportedly visit, royal residences being considered, and even how different travel routes were allegedly being evaluated. For someone who has consistently argued that widespread publicity can create security concerns, the sheer amount of information circulating before the trip stood out to many observers. Some reports even alleged that selected journalists had been receiving detailed background briefings from individuals said to be connected with the Sussex communications operation. If those reports accurately reflected what happened, many commentators argued they would raise difficult questions about how such extensive information entered the public conversation in the first place, creating what some viewed as a significant contradiction. Even after Harry arrived in Britain alone, Meghan's name continued to dominate the conversation. Although she was not with him at the start of the visit, reports still suggested she could join him later, particularly for engagements outside London. That meant the entire story remained unpredictable, with the possibility of changing again at any moment. Just one photograph of Meghan arriving in Britain would completely reshape the narrative. It would mark her first significant return in years, potentially place her near King Charles again, and instantly become one of the biggest royal stories in the global media. That possibility alone led some critics to question whether the ongoing uncertainty was adding even more attention to the Sussexes. Almost every new report created another round of speculation. Meghan might come. Meghan might stay away. The children could arrive later. They might remain elsewhere in Europe. They could visit members of the Spencer family or attend Invictus-related events. Nothing had been officially confirmed, yet the constant stream of possibilities kept the Sussexes firmly at the center of the news cycle for days. That naturally raised another question. Was this simply a family trying to navigate difficult security decisions, or had the uncertainty itself become part of the public conversation? Meghan's broader public profile made that debate even more interesting. While Harry has consistently emphasized security, privacy, and limiting public exposure, Meghan has continued building her professional brand through selected photographs, social media content, product launches, and carefully planned public appearances. Those two approaches appeared very different. Harry's public message has often focused on stepping back from the spotlight, while Meghan's business activities naturally involve maintaining a visible public presence. Royal commentators noted that those contrasting strategies seemed to intersect during the same visit, adding another layer of interest to the unfolding story. A return to Britain would never be viewed as an ordinary appearance for Meghan. It would immediately reconnect her public image with the monarchy, a connection that continues to attract worldwide attention. Even a brief appearance alongside Harry, King Charles, or at an Invictus event would likely generate headlines across the globe. Some commentators therefore questioned whether Meghan was genuinely uncertain about returning or simply waiting for the right moment. There has been no confirmation supporting either theory, but the ongoing uncertainty continued to fuel discussion. If Meghan eventually arrives, cameras will follow every move. If she remains away, questions will continue about why Harry is once again facing Britain alone. Either outcome creates another major story, and both keep attention focused on her. But the palace drama became even more sensitive because of Harry's court case. As Harry's visit to Britain unfolded, another major issue was quietly developing in the background. At the same time he was carrying out his engagements, he was also awaiting an important court judgment in his legal case against Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday. Harry has alleged that unlawful methods were used to gather information about his private life, while the publisher has firmly denied those allegations. The overlap between the court case and his royal visit immediately added another layer of pressure to an already complicated situation. The timing alone created a difficult position for Buckingham Palace. Imagine if Harry had been staying inside Buckingham Palace when the court's decision was announced. A victory could have allowed him to issue a celebratory public statement while living inside the king's official residence. On the other hand, an unfavorable outcome might have led to a strongly worded response from that very same location. Either scenario could have pulled Buckingham Palace directly into a highly public legal dispute involving one of Britain's best-known newspaper publishers, whether intentionally or not. Although Harry is no longer a working member of the royal family, photographs of him entering and leaving Buckingham Palace would still carry enormous symbolic weight. Many people could interpret those images as representing royal support, royal protection, or a close connection with the institution itself. Even if King Charles had absolutely no involvement in the legal proceedings, the public symbolism surrounding such images would have been extremely difficult to separate from the wider story. That is why some reports suggested the approaching court judgment may have made palace officials even more cautious about the proposed accommodation. Harry's team reportedly questioned that reasoning. According to those reports, they believed the palace already knew when the judgment was expected, so they wondered why the invitation would have been discussed in the first place. Why allow conversations to continue if the accommodation might ultimately become unavailable after Harry made his decision? Those unanswered questions only added to the growing confusion surrounding the visit. Once again, there were two different versions of events, two competing explanations, and no clear public agreement between either side. Standing in the middle of that complicated situation was King Charles himself, balancing his responsibilities as both a father and the reigning monarch, while every development attracted intense public attention. For years, reports have suggested that King Charles hopes to maintain some form of relationship with Archie and Lilibet. Because he has reportedly spent very little time with his grandchildren, this visit had the potential to create a rare opportunity for a quiet family meeting away from official ceremonies. That possibility is one reason speculation surrounding Meghan and the children's possible arrival continued to receive so much attention throughout the trip. At the same time, Charles cannot act only as Harry's father. He also serves as the constitutional monarch, which places important limits on what he can personally influence. Decisions involving Harry's security arrangements are handled through established official processes rather than personal instruction. Reports have often suggested Harry hoped his father might somehow help resolve those concerns, but any visible intervention by the king could raise constitutional questions and create political challenges that the palace would likely be eager to avoid. King Charles now appears to face one of the most delicate balancing acts of his reign. As a father, he may naturally want to spend time with his son and grandchildren. As monarch, however, he cannot allow personal family matters to influence official government processes. After years of interviews, public criticism, legal disputes, and widely discussed disagreements, even a private meeting carries added sensitivity. Any conversation could quickly become the subject of fresh media attention. According to some reports, the king was not expected to rearrange his schedule for a last-minute meeting with Harry alone. Charles already had official duties and long-standing private commitments, while palace sources reportedly described the situation as exhausting. They suggested there would be no sudden schedule changes simply because Harry's plans had shifted again. That led many royal commentators to ask another important question. If Meghan and the children had travelled later, would that have changed the situation? Some believed their arrival could have provided a stronger personal reason for Charles to make time. But with Harry reportedly arriving alone after weeks of uncertainty, others suggested the palace was signalling that last-minute royal access would not simply be assumed anymore. The visit also prompted renewed debate about Harry's broader objective. Was his main purpose to support the Invictus community? Was he hoping to strengthen his relationship with his father? Or was he trying to highlight his long-running concerns about security in Britain? Once the accommodation story dominated headlines, Harry again found himself portrayed as disappointed, excluded, and publicly at odds with the institution he has repeatedly said he hopes to reconcile with. At the same time, Meghan's possible arrival remained another major talking point. If she joined Harry after the palace dispute, would it become a long-awaited family reunion or simply add more attention to an already complicated visit? If she chose not to travel, further questions would likely follow about whether security concerns or other factors influenced that decision. Some critics believe that is exactly why palace officials have become increasingly cautious in handling every stage of these discussions. What began as a reported accommodation offer quickly turned into days of headlines. A possible family reunion became the subject of public debate. An Invictus visit became intertwined with wider conversations about the monarchy, privilege, and personal relationships. Meanwhile, the reason Harry was supposed to be. Harry returned to Britain with the intention of preparing for events connected to the upcoming Birmingham Games, where the spotlight was meant to shine on wounded and injured service personnel, the competitors, and the future of the organisation he helped build. That should have been the main story from the very beginning. Instead, almost every headline focused on something entirely different. People were asking where Harry would stay, whether Meghan would eventually arrive, and if the children might travel later. Before the first major engagement had even taken place, the attention had already shifted away from the reason he came back. The questions seemed endless. Would King Charles agree to see Harry? Would Meghan make a surprise appearance? Could Archie and Lilibet still join the trip? Had Harry accepted Buckingham Palace's accommodation offer, or had the palace withdrawn it? Was security really the central issue, or had the approaching court judgment complicated everything? Every new report created another debate, and every debate produced another wave of headlines. Long before Harry's official work began, the Sussex story had once again become the biggest topic of conversation. For many royal observers, that has become a familiar pattern. Each time Harry returns to Britain, he says he wants attention directed toward meaningful causes and charitable work. Yet every visit seems to be followed by security disputes, palace briefings, family tensions, media speculation, conflicting reports, and renewed questions about Meghan's role. Hopes of reconciliation often become buried beneath another wave of headlines, leaving the original purpose of the trip struggling to stand out. Although Harry arrived by himself, Meghan's presence was still felt throughout the entire conversation. Reports about whether she might travel later continued to dominate coverage. Her relationship with the royal family remained central to the discussion, and even her absence changed how many people viewed the visit. If she arrived later, the narrative could shift once again. If she stayed away, fresh questions would continue about why Harry was once more facing Britain without his family beside him. At this stage, Harry remains in Britain without confirmed royal accommodation, without a publicly confirmed family reunion, and without any certainty that King Charles will adjust his schedule for a private meeting. What was expected to look like a meaningful return has instead become surrounded by uncertainty and growing public debate. Even so, the story is far from finished. Meghan could still decide to join the visit. The children could still appear during engagements outside London, and King Charles could still find an opportunity for a private conversation. One thing already seems impossible to ignore. Before Harry had the opportunity to fully explain why he returned to Britain, public attention had already shifted toward competing accounts about what was happening behind palace walls. The more each side tried to clarify its version of events, the more complicated the overall picture appeared to become. Instead of reducing speculation, every new report seemed to generate even more questions. Whether this visit becomes remembered as a step toward reconciliation or simply another chapter in a complicated royal relationship will depend on what happens next. The coming days could still reshape the entire narrative. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe this visit could still lead to a private family meeting, or has too much happened for that to become a reality? We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you want more in-depth coverage of the latest royal developments, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update.